Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. The fellas talking some Michigan football again as Michigan wraps up their early signing day 2023 commits. I honestly think it's for Michigan, yeah, it wasn't like a massive day, but just hanging on to all your commitments, getting them to sign, and then adding another couple commitments as well is a really big win in a college football landscape where the recruiting trail isn't over until it's over. Yeah, Michigan's not bringing in a top 10 class, it looks like this year, but the work they're doing in the transfer portal, particularly some young guys through the portal that are coming through, you're still very optimistic about where Michigan is going. Before we get into it, though, again, just want to say thank you guys, especially the Michigan fans. We've talked a lot of Michigan football the last couple of days, and the support you guys have shown truly is insane. You guys know that's our team. You know it's the team we talk about the most, we rock with the most, we know about the most, and all the support you guys have shown is truly insane. So the best way to support the channel, if you do enjoy the content, is to subscribe. We really would appreciate that and do appreciate that, Dill. I'm going to kick it off to you. Early vibes from the Michigan 2023 early signing day period.
Yeah, I mean, actually today it was huge. I think holding on to Etta, it
Yep.
sounded like a lot of beat reporters were saying Miami was making a pretty hard push at him late. And getting the two guys, I think they in English and J.R. Hill, like two guys who I think Michigan kind of needed for this class. Because if they didn't get them, they're sitting outside the top 20. You kind of look at it, you don't necessarily have the skill and the athleticism at the positions that again you need that you would probably want. So I do think getting those two guys late in the cycle was really big, and I don't think, yeah, like you said, it's not going to be the greatest class ranking wise ever, but it's going to be solid. And if they can follow it up with a good 2024 class, which it seems like they're kind of leaning into, I think it's going to be fine. And the recruiting worries that people seem to have, I think, will be hushed
Now,
away.
I will say this 2023 class eerily reminds you of the Aiden Hutchinson class that was ranked not very high, but you look at the players that kind of led to beating Ohio State for the first time in years, winning a Big Ten title. The guys who were contributing weren't necessarily the 4 and 5 stars. It's something we talked about when we were talking about all the transfers coming in. Michigan's getting guys who want to be a Michigan Wolverine. They're going to stay 4 years, develop into really, really good football players, and kind of build a program that way. And again, it's not a star-studded group. Michigan this year hasn't necessarily been a star-studded group. You've heard the defensive coordinator always talking about how there's no star on this defense. It's 11 guys who play damn good. They do their job and they play good football, and it leads to a really good defense. I kind of feel the same way. I do think Ida will be a guy that probably finishes the recruiting cycle as a top 100 dude because a lot of teams wanted him. I think a lot of people are very high on how he plays. But again, outside of Ida, I think my biggest get is Karmello English just because of the juice he has at wide receiver. If there was a position that I might have a bone to pick for Michigan, which is, and this is where I'm really grasping at straws here, it might be the wide receiver position and the overall star power we might lack the last couple of years. Karmello English was a big addition. Auburn was making a late push.
Yeah, and obviously I think Auburn had the commitment pre whoever his name, Harsin, getting fired. Then he decommitted. Well, he may have decommitted while Harsin was there, but I know he was committed to Auburn at some point. And again, what you mentioned, that wasn't a position Michigan killed it on the field. I mean, they do have a young class of freshmen currently at the wideout position, and but he's going to headline this class at wideout for sure. I mean, the next closest were a couple of 3-star guys. Not that they can't blossom in the stars, but again, you want a few guys who are more in that higher ranked class because just history shows that those 4 and 5 stars do typically turn into the NFL.
I will say our Michigan's best wide receiver this year, former 3-star, fifth-year senior Ronnie Bell. So again, I think a lot of it has to do with development, and Josh Gaddis, I don't think developed the wide receiving core as well as I think it could have been. And I'm a little bit more optimistic about the coaching staffs we have and now to kind of develop. I think another guy you look at, and kind of the hometown kid, Cole Cabana from Michigan, he's a guy that I think can bring some serious juice. Again, not necessarily the highest ranked guy, but has like verified 4.4, sub 4.4 speed. He's thicker than he looks, like 6 foot, 180 pounds. I would be surprised if he's not playing his true freshman year more at 190 to closer to 200 pounds. Like, he's a big dude, and I think he's going to put on some weight, but you can't really teach the electric speed that he has. So I'm excited about getting him in as well. But you kind of look down the class, it's not necessarily the most flashy class, but again, you look at some of the guys that Michigan, some of the main contributors from Michigan this year and last year, it's two of the best Michigan teams we've seen in our lifetime. Uh, it's not necessarily the most flashy prospects. So I'm still optimistic about where this program is heading, even if it is not necessarily the flashiest 2023 class.
Yeah, no, I'm fully on the in Jim Harbaugh I trust, in
Oh yeah,
Sharon Moore we trust, in all these coaches. Like they're just now they've kind of proved to the world that okay, everyone just shut up, let them do what they do. Because I mean,
yep,
people have been complaining about Michigan recruiting for forever. Oh, they won a Big Ten, they didn't go top 10 in the recruiting classes. Like, I mean, the classes that won these titles haven't been top 10 classes necessarily. I don't think one class since 2019 might have been like right around 10 if I recall, but that was probably it. And those are these new classes that they're doing. They're winning a lot of games. So I'm very much off I'm gonna watch recruiting rankings constantly and
yeah.
criticize, and I just trust him. I trust Jim. I trust Ward Manuel. I trust Sharon Moore. I trust everyone. So
You're seeing Michigan in Coach Harbaugh kind of move away from just trying to attract that top notch talent and focusing more on guys that who might not necessarily be a top 50 prospect, but are guys that fit what Michigan wants to do schematically as well and fit kind of the brand that Michigan wants to play. We talk about when Jim started his tenure at Michigan, he was bringing in really, really talented classes, and they're kind of didn't necessarily seem like the personnel and what Michigan wanted to do came together. You have a lot of flashy wide receivers who are very athletic, but Michigan wanted to run the football with two tight ends.
that's the thing is that sort of recruiting. It does inherently clash with what Jim wants to do, which is
Exactly.
play a game that I think some people would consider a little boring, but is very
Smash
different.
Mouth, not boring. Smash Mouth, physical, and what the recruiting classes kind of gravitate towards is Zachary Branch from USC, a top 5 player nationally, doing 3 backflips in a row and being kind of like that flash athleticism. Yeah, he's a very good athlete. Does he block downfield? That type of stuff is what Jim is looking for. And those guys who are maybe doing that at the highest level are sitting maybe at 250 nationally, not 5. It just seems like Jim is putting a little bit more of an emphasis on getting guys that are going to fit what he wants to do, fit the brand of football he wants to play, fit the culture of the program he wants to have. And yeah, maybe 24/7 isn't necessarily ranking our class as a top 10 class, but you got to feel confident that Jim's getting the guys that he best feels are going to help this program win football
And then
games.
on the back end of it, I do wonder if he's actually making a committed switch to okay, he's going to build a team in the core of guys who are going to kind of be the 4-year guys and aren't going to leave Michigan the second they're not playing as a freshman type
Mm-hmm.
mentality. And then he's going to fill in with elite talent in the portal, like in Olu, like a couple of guys they're bringing in now, a Houseman, a Miles Hinton, and can he fill in with pro talent where he needs to at a given year when he thinks he does. I don't know if that's going to be a strategy. Obviously, it's pretty early in the portal days, but I mean, they're hitting it hard. That's
They're
no.
hitting the portal hard, and yeah, you noted something like maybe you take a guy who's 250 nationally. He's not necessarily expecting to play year 1, year 2. He's more of a developmental guy, developmental oriented versus the Texas A&M class that you sign. They're all top 5-star guys who are kind of going to be like, if I'm not playing significant football year 1, year 2, I'm out of here. And so you might be right. I'm kind of interested to see how Jim handles it, but there does seem to be an emphasis a little bit less on getting a guy that is a top 247 national recruit and more that guys that want to be at Michigan who are going to be okay with maybe just staying and sticking around for 4 or 5 years, developing into very solid football players and building a team that way. It's early. I would like to also say that 24/7, as good as they have recruiting rankings, you can't really argue that. Probably the best in the game. They miss on guys plenty. Like Quinshawn Judkins had no offers, was not ranked highly at 24/7 Sports, and was one of the best running backs in the country as a true freshman last year. There's
Not,
no
not
perfect.
to combat that though. I do think the pure star don't matter or stars don't matter crowd is like out of their mind because
Oh, 100%.
if you do look at the NFL, it is like Zachariah Branch is going to the NFL in all likelihood. That's just he may not fit Michigan as well, or he probably wouldn't want to be at Michigan necessarily because he wants to put up a lot of yards, and I don't blame him. He's got that type of talent, and Michigan plays a little bit of a different style than USC certainly. But he's probably going to be a pro, so it's not to say you can't be like outside the top 30 and expect to be particularly competitive in the big stage. So I think as much as like I'm not going to nitpick classes like, oh, did they get top 10? Are they in top 15? Like as long as they're around, if it's inside the top 20, typically, I think I probably wouldn't bat much of an eye. But if it really does start to slide into the bottom 30 and lower, I do think I'd be a little concerned. And
I'll
as much
start
as I
being
am,
concerned when we start losing football games, which we haven't done all year. I think we said
yeah,
it
but that'll
before.
show itself at some point, I think.
The
Again, I don't
the
think
important
you can easily win games being a school that can't recruit anybody as like any 4-star as
Yeah,
any.
well, Michigan's
No,
certainly
that's
not
what I'm
going
saying.
there.
That's what I'm saying. Like as much as this class isn't going to be the eye popping Alabama class, like it's still pretty solid. It's just I think people sometimes get in their expectations that we should recruit like Ohio State, and that's going to be the answer. But
Different guys. It's just different guys. And overall, I think, again, you saw a team like Ohio State lose a couple guys today. You saw them not be able to flip a couple guys today. Michigan took care of business. The guys that were committed, signed their papers, are going to come to Michigan, and they were able to flip a few more. Focus on that transfer rank. It looks like Michigan said, hey, we're going to put a little bit more emphasis on getting some guys through the portal this year than last year. I think it's still a very, very good day for Michigan. Not flashy, but they get the job done. They get pen to paper to most of their commits. And again, it's like going back to what you said. I'm not going to start not trusting Jim until he starts losing football games, which he
also, we're all waiting on Nichols Harbor, and that would be a nice one because
that's a
he's
whirlwind one.
very much the headline and the crown jewel, if you will.
Yep.
Now, I don't know. It
Will
sounds like
Johnson
they're in a
was
pretty
last
good
year.
battle against South Carolina and Maryland, but
Maryland's making a push. Yeah.
and Georgia, actually, I hear is also very
No
much
doubt Georgia's in a
a
running
problem.
for a freak athlete like him. Again, we'll wrap it up on that. A good day for Michigan. Nothing flashy, taking care of business. Kind of how like Michigan football kind of conducts themselves. Nothing flashy. Again, if you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We do appreciate that a lot. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.